focus on equipment. So Andrew is on the left. He's playing 3 Invisible Stalker, 4 Geist of St. Traft, 2 Sword of War and Peace, and 2 Rune Chanter's Pike. On the right, playing it's red-green aggro, actually not Wolf Run Ramp. We have Ricky Sidher, also known on Moto as Sipithala. We pictured Michael Hetrick a bunch earlier. He is Shipithala, so the two often get confused. They will often work in tandem on Moto, and both have had quite a lot of success.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about the Strangleroot Geist decks is just the sheer amount of damage that they can pour out so quickly. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, I don't know what people are doing playing birds and elves in a aggressive deck. Oh, that's so terrible. Well, part of it is that Green Sun Zenith for 2 on turn 2 is good.
Yes.
You know?
One of the keys in this matchup for the red-green aggro deck is it needs to... So, Blue-White Delver, as I've kind of been parroting, I've been saying this a lot this tournament, tries to get ahead early and never let go. And once it gets behind, it has trouble. So what red-green aggro's strategy in this matchup is what he's going to try to do is not let Blue-White Delver get ahead. He's going to try to match him on parity the whole time. So what's very essential for Ricky is that he has a turn 2 threat or something which, so a Mana Dork is excellent because really what it lets Andrew not, if he has say Ricky plays Llanowar Elves Go, Andrew is under a lot of pressure if he wants to say play an Invisible Stalker, he risks Ricky coming with something like a Daybreak Ranger or perhaps
a Sword of War and Peace.
So Ricky will probably mug in any hand that does not have a turn 2 sword or a turn 2 Strangleroot Geist in it. And Ricky, showing the strength of the deck, leads off on Birds of Paradise. So now
Andrew really is going to be in a position where, yeah, there he goes.
Andrew is very aware of how good the Birds is there for him. So what he's hoping is that if Ricky was only playing on Green Sun Zenith, then Ricky can't get ahead here. If Ricky naturally has the Strangleroot Geist, that is very good for him. But now he threatens to untap and Hunt Master of the Fells, a card that Andrew really cannot let resolve in this matchup.
Now, Andrew Lomotan here has no Gut Shots, a card that would be very good in this matchup otherwise.
No Gut Shots, right. So Andrew has decided to sit back probably on Mana Leak and decide to play that game.
4th mana.
And Ricky will try for Hunt Master anyway, and couldn't get faster.
No way, Jose.
Now, my guess, Ricky's probably aware of this matchup, and my guess is that he has another Hunt Master.
I mean, what do you want to bet that that Sipit has had to play against this from Shipit?
Well, definitely. So Ricky was on this red-green aggro deck in Pro Tour Dark Ascension, and at the time his deck was quite different. We ended up the crew that I was working a lot with Shahar Shinar, who was also from Sacramento, though not here this weekend. The two of us, along with a lot of some of the other players in Minnesota, had developed red-green aggro, and since their decks have kind of hybridized, we've had a lot of discussions about it. I'm sure I've talked with him a bit about the deck, and he's pretty aware of how the matchup plays out. Going again for another Hunt Master of the
Green
Fells.
Sun Zenith also hit. Now, Andrew did cast a Ponder last turn as well and just sat back.
Yep.
Playing very much a control role here, which makes sense given that Ricky is far more aggressive than him overall. But he can't play this forever. His deck's not made for it.
No, his deck really isn't. He's hoping that if Ricky draws lots of lands, he can get on this. Ricky now has to be careful with his threats.
Sword of War
Sword
and
with
Peace.
Mana Leak up is excellent. And will probably just immediately fly onto the birds.
And Andrew will, basically at that point, hope to have a Dismember that he can use immediately on the birds in response.
Right.
Or a Vapor Snag for that matter.
This is the position that the red-green aggro deck wants to put Delver in. There's 2 kinds of matchup.
Okay, wow.
3rd Mana Leak, but it's paid for.
Yeah, pulls out just to slow down Ricky.
In general, there's 2 really good ways that Delver wins in this matchup. The first way that it wins is with draws involving lots of early Delver of Secrets. They can actually lock red-green just out of the deck by, flipping a turn 1 Delver, revealing Mana Leaks, and playing a control game. The other thing that red-green aggro can lose to is unanswered equipment. And outside of that, red-green usually has a pretty safe route. Here, as we see, if Ricky can find a way to get rid of the Sword of War and Peace, because he does have 1 Acidic Slime in his deck, that will probably be enough.
A Sword of War and Peace matched by another Sword of War and Peace is basically a push for the most part, as long as a single hit won't kill you.
Right. Both players with 1 card left?
Both players pretty low.
Yep. So So be trading just tit for tat back for a bit.
Now, if I were right now forced to be one of these players, I would want to be Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
In for 3 plus the hand. I believe that's for 4 damage.
There's a lot of draws here that Ricky can play that are very difficult for Andrew. If Ricky draws, Ricky is hoping to draw into a Strangleroot Geist, a Phyrexian Metamorph, which he has 3 of in his deck, a Thron, a Hell Rider, or a Hunt Master of the Fells, or his one aesthetic.
Ooh, there we go, Geist.
And
Geist plus sword?
Before I could get to what cards Andrew wants to draw into, well, we've just seen one of them. It's the Geist of St. Traft.
Wow.
Is that a Metamorph from him? That would be excellent.
Now, Andrew leaving that mana open, basically hinting that he has a counterspell. It might not be true.
With the amount of mana Ricky has, that bluff on a counterspell, the most expensive thing in his deck is an Acidic Slime.
But that can be stopped there, theoretically. Like, a mana leak would have stopped it.
Well, right, and I'm actually surprised that Ricky didn't play the Huntmaster pre-combat, just in case the mana leak was there.
2 life there matters. And the sword moves. Where's it gonna go? To the wolf?
I can't say. Probably to the Huntmaster.
Okay, there we go. It's fine. I like it on the wolf instead, actually. No, because of the Vapor Snag. The Vapor Snag, yeah, never mind. You're right.
No, what I want to remind you, remember what we learned about Huntmaster of the Fells when he flips?
Trample.
Because he has Trample, which actually is relevant a lot of the
Probe,
time.
what you got?
He has an Incinerate.
Incinerate, good to know.
Not a bad card to have either. Yep, he moves the sword, so in case Andrew can Vapor Snag here, then Andrew is forced to Vapor Snag the Huntmaster, which is probably the last thing on this board you want to be Vapor Snagging.
Yeah, that's a good point. Moves a sword to the Geist, asking for essentially a, what is that going to be, 8 damage plus the hand? 9 damage with the Invisible Stalker.
Well, let's see.
The wolf is going to hop in the way of 5 of the damage, perhaps?
Well, the wolf either... Yeah, the wolf is the only thing that can block Geist. Wolf Blocking is probably correct
That's
here.
plus 5 life.
Especially because he's challenging... Well, no, Andrew has played... He's played Jataxi Probe, so Huntmaster won't be flipping. Ricky would love to draw a Kessig Wolf Run this turn. That would probably seal up the game.
Dead Angel. Does the Angel die, or does it RFG?
Exiles.
Exile, yeah, RFG.
Yes. Probably wanting to attack pre-combat. Or no, he
is
has
this going to be a Strangleroot Geist?
Looks like a Strangleroot Geist.
Dun dun dun. In they come.
And they come, birds hanging back.
Strangleroot Geist always makes me think of Princess Mononoke.
It looks like a Kodama. Well, both are spirits. There are some similarities. You can make a rattle sound every time Strangleroot Geist attacks, I suppose. And moving the sword back to the birds so it can profitably block an Angel token is actually a very good play. Or profitably block a Geist of St. Traft actually is probably way better.
Good too.
I should correct myself. Yeah. There aren't too many draws here that get Andrew back into the game.
He brings the sword over to gain some life. He's just trying to bring his life total up a little bit.
But you know, once Geist of St. Traft starts going into block mode, though, that's usually a bad sign for the Delver deck.
$30 now. Save yourself the trouble of waiting in the morning. This is your last chance to do so. I will be closing that down in about 10 minutes.
So we see in Andrew's hand
4 mana being spent? Is that going to be a Pike equip? Nope. Just move it back. Yeah, he already had the 2 mana spent from before, so it just moves it back. Lays a land, says go.
He's open a possible Dissipate, which he doesn't have in the main, but Ricky doesn't know that. And Ravager of the Fells front master becomes a Ravager, dealing 2 damage to Andrew.
Trample?
Yeah, I know.
Who knew?
Trample's, it's pretty relevant right now, isn't it? Oh, well, we'll just Metamorph the Geist while we're at it.
He's like, okay, what are you going to do?
Choose Geist. Should choose Geist to St. Trapped, right? That would kill it.
Maybe he's making a Strangleroot Geist.
I see no reason to be fancy, but I suppose that's a good play too.
The thing is, if the Geist of St. Traft dies, a new spirit can be made.
Yeah.
There we go.
The biggest concern which you would have is something like Andrew untapping, and you want to take away Andrew's ability to swing back for the lethal on a nut draw of some sort. You know, on something like Vapor Snag, Snapcaster, Vapor Snag, swing my team, and by removing Geist, you essentially remove that out.
So right here, I expect we're going to see a spirit come out and kill the Strangleroot Geist? Or is that not enough to survive?
That is not enough to survive.
I think... are there any other blocks he can do, though? If the life totals are correct, that would put him at dead.
Yeah, I think this is dead no matter yeah, it's dead no matter where it goes.
So long as our life totals are correct, Andrew is dead man walking.
He could have Gut Shot.
Oh, he still got the Incinerate in hand, too. Like,
yeah.
Hey, remember this card?
Remember this? I still had that, yeah. And then, now comes the explanation of, oh, by the way, it has Trample.
You know what's funny is what I might do in that situation is just cast the Incinerate so that the question of Trample never comes up. First game for Ricky Sidher, up 1-0, going to the sideboards.
Yep.
I think we can expect Andrew Lomotan bringing in a Batter Skull. I think we can expect to see Divine Offering and Timely Reinforcements. And then the question mark of whether you bring in the Revoke Existence or not, I think there's not unreasonable. He knows that there's going to be several equipment, so why not?
Our belief, at least after testing the matchup a bunch, is that I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. I believe the correct way to sideboard the matchup is for Delver to bring in the Phantasmal Images.
It's going to bring up those as well.
Batter Skull...
Too slow?
Is actually, well, the biggest problem is that if Ricky knows what he's doing in the matchup, the correct thing to supporting for him is both of his Ancient Grudges, actually. Almost all the other cards in Ricky's deck are not relevant in this matchup, and so if you put him on bringing in all his Ancient Grudges, or at least 2, Batter Skull probably isn't a very good card here, because you just don't want it to get blown out by that.
What I like from Ricky is Ancient Grudge, Acidic Slime, and Garruk Relentless.
Garruk Relentless can't fight anything in the matchup.
Really? I mean, it can fight... I guess there's like
it can fight
untargetable,
or Geist, or Stalker.
Yep, never mind. You have convinced me with the there are not enough things.
It's very good at killing unflipped Delver and main phased Snapcasters.
Yes.
Which isn't really enough.
You win. You have convinced me. Thrun the Last Troll.
Thrun is good in the matchup.
There we go.
Thrun is quite
another
good.
reason for Andrew to be thinking about Phantasmal Image.
He may have to board in the aesthetics time that because Ricky is not playing a Viridian Corruptor, which is typically he really remember that the 2 ways Ricky loses are to draws with lots of Delvers and Mana Leaks and to unanswered equipment. So Andrew's hoping for one of those to happen. He wants to eliminate the unanswered equipment draw. But I mean, a lot of Delver secrets. It's very hard for many decks to be turn 1 Delver, flip it, turn 2 Delver, flip it, showing Mana Leak. It's hard for a lot of decks, and Red-Green's no exception.
Well, that's one of the reasons that aggro control is such a potent archetype. When it's on its game, almost no deck can escape its pull.
Right.
The question mark with aggro control is, what about those draws where you get things in the wrong order?
So a little bit of standings math. Ricky is currently sitting at 7 wins and 1 loss. Andrew is at 6 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. There are 2 players at 1 draw, but they're separated by over 6% in their tiebreaker, which probably means that we believe that both players are essentially at the same record. Both players should be in with a win. The other player with 1 draw probably is looking at even only making 9th with the win.
In some ways, the existence of this style of deck, if it gets more popular, and by this I should say the deck that Ricky Sidher is playing, Sipit Hala, the red-green aggressive decks with the Geist of St. Traft, Green Sun Zenith, Sword of War and Peace, and Mana Acceleration, it strikes me that they have a very great position versus blue-white Delver lists of pretty much all kinds.
I would say they are good, but not great. They're like around, it's around a 50-50 matchup for the two decks.
I would put it closer to 60-40, which is not great, but I think it's still, I think, more advantaged than a coin flip.
It's very possible. It depends. A lot of it is also on the Delver pilot. Delver is a very, well, both these decks, Delver is a very difficult deck, and I think everyone knows it's a very difficult deck. Red-green aggro actually is also a fairly complicated deck. Not to say that there are decks, you know, that any sort of Magic deck, you know, some are easier than others. The red-green aggro especially has a lot of decisions per turn.
And a lot of those decisions can be very important. For example, do you do something, or do you just use your equipment? What do you Green Sun Zenith for?
Right.
Do you hold off on your Green Sun Zenith for this turn for another turn?
What do you attack with even? So let's take a walk through our potential top 8. We have already in, as we said before, we have red-black zombies, we have frights, we have red-green wolf run, and we have a rock tokens deck. All right, so our other top 8 matches playing for top 8, we have, I want to hear who you think will be winning these ones. We have Esper Control versus blue-white humans.
I would say if blue-white humans has access to Mana Leak and or Negate in the board, I would give it to humans.
I would also give the matchup to humans. I think the decline in humans is one of the reasons that this deck became less popular, that Control became more popular. We have green-white township tokens versus frights.
I think I'm going to give that to Freets.
I will also give it to Freets. It's exactly the kind of deck that it wants to beat. And our last one is Rock Planeswalkers versus Green-Red Wolf Run.
I need to see that list specifically to have a sense of it.
That's fair enough. But anyway, that's a taste of the kind of decks you'll be seeing in the top 8 here. So a turn 1 Jataxian Probe off Andrew Lomotan shows us Ricky's hand. And does not have a turn 1 Delver, so Ricky's got to be really happy about that. That's one of the strongest things in this matchup for Andrew. Ricky does appear, he has a Sword of War and Peace in his hand, and he's probing him again. All right, so he drew a Huntmaster, continues to have a hand where Ricky does have the Ancient Grudge. Ricky's got to be really happy. Andrew doesn't have any Delvers, and if Andrew has equipment, Ricky has the Ancient Grudge for it. So both of Andrew's 2 paths of victory have significant roadblocks in the way. Just another land and go. Ricky,
that question you asked earlier about green-white Delver versus the green-black-white Planeswalkers, after looking at the list...
Green-red Wolf Run versus Planeswalkers.
After looking at the list, I would give it to Wolf Run.
Okay. I would probably give it to Wolf Run usually. It sounds like something I would say as well.
Well, if it was the deck that we had seen in Memphis, I would have gone the other way, because I saw it beat Wolf Run after Wolf Run after Wolf Run, but this is not not the same deck. Okay. We see a Thought Scour.
Loading up the yard with another Thought Scour, a Geist of St. Traft. So right now, Snapcaster Mage has access to Jataxian Probe and Thought Scour. I don't know if he has the Snapcaster, but in theory, that's what it would have. But this is excellent. This is the main red-green strategy here. He's going to just attempt to basically out-mana Delver, because through a mana advantage, he can get ahead on the board and start resolving what he wants to be resolving.
And this is exactly where Gut Shot would be such a potent weapon for Andrew, but he doesn't have it anywhere in his 75.
No. To be fair, dismembering, as we saw last game, dismembering a mana creature is also pretty acceptable.
It's not the same thing as Gut Shotting.
Not at all. Strangergeist resolves, which...
Ouch. And look at that. Elf does not attack. What's coming out after combat?
Magic players. The StarCityGames.com dealer booth is going to be closing out.
Interesting, Elf doesn't attack.
If you have any cards you wish to purchase
Elf doesn't
or
attack
sell,
because of Moorland Taunt is available at that point.
Okay.
At the end of this round, we will be open again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Either way, Andrew is dangerously close to getting behind on the board, which is very bad.
I think it's very expected in most cases for this matchup. This is why when you say 50-50, that just strikes me as crazy talk.
Well, Delver's a very powerful deck.
I understand. Just because it's powerful doesn't mean it has doesn't have any bad matchups. There's a Geist.
The Geist is not too much to fear unless it picks up some equipment. But as we already know, Ricky has the Ancient Grudge, so... we'll see.
If you can hear the throbbing sounds of music somewhere behind us, I believe that there might be a dance happening in the next hall over.
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody out there.
Here is that, yeah, all right,
Green Suns for 4?
War
Nope,
Peace,
sword, equip.
So Ricky has no intention of caring about Geist of St. Traft.
He's like, I got cards in my hand. That'll blunt the hit from the Angel.
Yeah.
Earthquake, earthquake. Okay, never mind. It was just a tremor. Andrew down to 7 already. Lays a land. It's going to be Sword of his own. He'll equip. He'll be able to get in one hit with the sword to recover some of that life total. In for 4, 8, 9, plus whatever's in Ricky's hand. Gaining a little bit of life. And what's going to happen is Ricky's going to Ancient Grudge that sword.
Definitely.
Probably after combat.
And Andrew's aware of it. But, yeah. At least the sword gets in a hit this time.
Or he's just going to have a double equip.
He's going to make another sword.
Oh my god. That's it.
And
Boom.
that's the game. And Ricky Sidher punches a ticket to the top 8 over Andrew Lomotan 2-0.
Phyrexian Metamorph. Such an amazing card in this deck. I've been seeing it again and again as a card that people are like, is it really that good? No, it's really that good.
It can be very good in the deck.
Particularly